Part 76. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 752. Xuanhuan came out in full force, with more than 3,000 people. Sect leader Xiantiankai personally led it, and all the elders came. This can be called one of the largest wars that has occurred in Su state in hundreds of years. However, in just a few days, Xuanhuan's troops had already gathered outside the Dead Man's Desert. This vast wilderness has always been a bit evil. Looking at the vast wilderness ahead, an elder couldn't help but speak. No matter how evil it is, we must find out this time. Yes, according to Lord Hailuo, if we can get the ancient method in the hands of the tomb keeper, Xianyi sect will soar into the sky. Everyone's eyes were burning. As for Xiantiankai, there seemed to be a hint of worry on his face at this moment. Sect Master, are you worried? Xiankaiyulan spoke. Xiantiankai nodded, and he couldn't help but look back at the carriage Hailuo was riding in the rear. If Lord Hailuo is sure of everything, why let us take action? He murmured. This time, I'm afraid there will be danger. Xiankaiyulan said, what does the sect master mean? Xiantiankai shook his head and said, nothing. My son has settled down. I heard that the golden list of the great Dao has appeared in the direction of the royal dynasty in the north. He is one body of ice and fire, and the hidden dangers have been resolved. In this life, he will soar into the sky. As for myself, haha, it doesn't matter anymore. There was a fearless determination in his old eyes. Ever since Hailuo helped him solve his son's illness, he had already decided to work hard for Hailuo. Even if he vaguely guessed that there was a trap in this dead man's wasteland. No choice. When Xiankaiyulan heard this, he was a little panicked. Damn, your son has settled down, but my son has not. While he was hesitating, Xiantiankai had already shouted, march! At the same time, in the other direction of the dead wasteland, Elder Qi, Xuanhuan has already started to leave. It won't be long before they reach the gravekeeper lineage. A middle-aged man reported to an old man. This old man is clearly Mo Fenjiun from the Mo family. He actually didn't stay away from the dead man's wasteland, but kept waiting. Oh well. There was a sneer on the corner of Mo Fenjiun's mouth and he said, take chestnuts from the fire and take advantage of the chaos to obtain the ancient method of the tomb keeper's lineage. This is his purpose. After all, the ancient method in the hands of the tomb keeper lineage is too powerful, and he won't give up until he gets it. And at this moment, Wu Xiaokan had also appeared in front of the small mountain village. He walked in slowly with the intention of pilgrimage. Not long after, I saw Wu Xianting in the small courtyard. As usual, after washing up and having breakfast, everyone was sitting around doing their own things. The music of the south wind sounds, the rhythm is harmonious, and it has reached the state of perfection. The little white wolf lay at her feet. In the past 2 years, this little wolf has grown up, but it still misses Nanfan very much. Whenever the south wind played the harp, the little wolf would fall into a deep sleep. However, Nanfan knew that Lang Qianqian was not really asleep, but was singing in harmony with the music of her piano. There was an invisible running wolf wandering between the sounds of her piano. The song of forgetting the dust is now complete. Under the peach tree, Li Fan couldn't help but smile slightly as he listened to the music and said, your piano skills are ready for the next stage of learning. As he spoke, he took out a yellowed music sheet from his sleeve and said, from today on, you can practice the music in this score freely. When Nanfan heard this, he was immediately delighted and stood up to take the music score. I saw 4 yellowed ancient characters written on the music score. Eternal 10 sounds. 10 tones of eternity. Nanfan opened it subconsciously. This score is divided into 10 songs. Mountains and flowing waters. 3 plum blossom lanes. Spring river with flowers and moonlight night. Guangling San. Goose falling on flat sand. House of flying daggers. She just glanced at it casually, and couldn't help but be fascinated by it, and she was immersed in it instantly. The mountains and flowing water are extremely magical. When the music of the piano is played, you can see into anyone's mind and detect all the enemy's flaws. This is what is called looking for a close friend in high mountains and flowing water. In the three plum blossoms, when the three tones are heard, the three souls of the listener will be recreated by the sound of the piano, which can be called mysterious and unpredictable. Ambush from all sides is an eternal killing technique. Once the sound of the piano is sounded, it can kill all the strong men who have been sleeping in the 8 wastelands of the universe and have been extinct for eternity. It can be said to be truly powerful. The 10 piano music is not only a mental training method for cultivating the realm of chaos, but also a supreme killing technique. These piano music, why do I feel inexplicably familiar? Nanfen murmured. At the same time, she took a deep breath, looked at Li Fan, saluted directly, and said, "This is so precious, thank you master. These 10 songs can be called the invincible way of chaos." At this moment, even the big black dog on one side looked a little lost in his eyes and murmured. In the last life, Master Qin only practiced to the 7th song. Where did the master find the other 3 songs? Terrible. Li Fan smiled and said, "Why be so polite?" He paused and then said, "Do you know why I asked you to learn the Emperor's formation breaking song first and then forgetting the dust before handing you this music score?" Nanfen said, "Some of these top 10 zither tunes are unconventional and uncontaminated, some are murderous and full of hatred. If you learn them directly, it won't take long for your disciples to go crazy. The Emperor Zun's formation breaking song and the forgetting the dust song just allow the disciples to become familiar with 2 completely different musical styles." She spoke her innermost thoughts candidly. Hearing this, Li Fan couldn't help but nodded and said, "Exactly. If you want to go far, the foundation must be solid. Being greedy for success and rushing forward is a taboo in learning piano. Every detail you ignore will become your inner demon in the future." Hearing this, Nanfen felt even more. She vaguely felt that these words from the master seemed to be related to her life. "So that's it, wow, I understand." The big black dog was on the side, but he whispered. No wonder in the last life, after Qin Zun set out on the road, he was stuck at that level and could not go any further. In this life, the master has helped her fill up the Dao foundation, so that her avenue will no longer be blocked. It murmured, the dog's eyes full of admiration. "These 10 pieces of music are enough for you to practice for a while. When you finish learning them, my teacher will be able to teach you how to compose them." Li Fan smiled. After all, the music scores in the world are limited. A luthier who goes far will eventually embark on the path of composing his own music. Li Fan would also write some music on weekdays, but it was not suitable to practice it for Nanfen now. Disciple understands, disciple must work hard. Nanfen spoke solemnly. Immediately, she returned to the piano. The piano was made by Li Fan himself. The song is an eternal song. She calmed down and began to play the first note of the first song, High Mountains and Flowing Waters. Ding! The piano sounded. That's this moment. The breath of the south wind suddenly changed. In the small courtyard, there are many auras that submerge into Nanfen's body. She broke the divine way. Step into the realm of chaos. Became a cultivator in the realm of chaos. Everyone in the small courtyard was surprised. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 753. Just one note changes the atmosphere of the south wind. From the divine way to the realm of chaos, everything is so natural, everything comes naturally, and the spring breeze turns into rain. In fact, the realm of everyone in the small courtyard has already reached the perfection of Shinto. They can cross that threshold at any time. However, they had been practicing the techniques of the Shinto realm before. Without the chaos level techniques to guide them, they had been wandering outside the door. The 10 tones of eternity obtained by Nanfan now are definitely the supreme Chin Deo practice method in the realm of chaos. Therefore, she naturally broke through directly. Moreover, her realm did not stop at the early stage of the spiritual energy realm. Instead, it skyrockets all the way, passing through the middle stage of the chaotic realm, directly reaching the late stage of the chaotic realm, and even reaching perfection. The south wind rose as she pleased, and she played the second note without stopping. At this moment, the endless white mist contained in the limbs and bones in her body liquefied drop by drop, fell in the danshan, and slowly gathered into a clear spring. This is the second realm of chaos, the spiritual spring realm. At this point, Nanfan began to suppress it and did not allow the realm to grow wildly. In fact, she directly crossed from the realm of Shinto to the realm of spiritual spring. It is not a rapid progress, it can only be said that she has accumulated a lot. After all, their accumulation can be said to have started from the immortal realm. Everything you drink and eat on a daily basis contains the most essence of the original energy of the chaotic white mist between heaven and earth. Those original energy accumulated in their bodies, like an underground river dormant. Wait until today, practice the chaos method, and then draw it out. It's like a majestic river that has been gathering momentum for a long time and finally bursts out. Its momentum can be imagined. So, it's smooth sailing without any obstructions. Stopping in the realm of chaotic spiritual energy was the result of her deliberate suppression. Sister Nanfan is so amazing. Zi Ling's eyes were full of envy and she said, she has become a strong person in the realm of chaos. Chaos method stimulates the chaos energy accumulated in our bodies for many years. Xuanhuan was very excited. I feel like I need to learn something new too. Wu Dade's eyes were also shining. Immediately, a group of disciples looked at Li Fan expectantly. Their realm has already been perfected by the divine way, only the chaos method is missing. Looking at the expectant looks of many disciples, Li Fan couldn't help but smile in surprise. These disciples really love learning. Good thing, good thing. Moreover, their current learning progress is indeed good and they can teach some new knowledge. Okay, then I'll teach you something new as a teacher. Li Fan spoke immediately. This is a painting book that contains many techniques such as landscapes, flowers, birds, bamboos, stones, figures, fine brushwork, freehand brushwork, and some famous paintings. You can start actually painting. Li Fan handed a painting book to Zi Ling. Zi Ling was very excited when she heard this. She took the painting book and saw the same 4 words on the cover. 9 volumes of creation. 9 volumes of creation. Among them, there are 9 painting methods, and each method has corresponding works for reference. Landscape paintings, such as thousands of rocks and gorges. Paintings of flowers, birds, bamboos, and rocks, such as Koishi picture, sketching Genkin picture, etc. Figure paintings, such as the picture of Marquis Wu reclining, the picture of the fisherman, etc. Every painting method is complicated. Every famous painting is a concentration of Tao, a display of rhyme, and an evolution of rhythm. The 9 volumes of creation can describe everything in the world. Zi Ling's big eyes were filled with shock. Moreover, she had a feeling that the painting of eggs, hens, etc. she had learned in the realms of immortality, Holy Way, Shinto, etc., seemed to be prepared for the 9 scrolls of creation. If it weren't for the previous accumulation, facing the 9 volumes of creation, my understanding would never be as profound as it is now. If you rashly study the 9 volumes of creation, you will definitely go astray. She seemed to understand that just like the south wind, the master, was also using the immortal, holy, and divine ways to reshape her foundation. Let her go further. Zi Ling immediately started to paint and began to learn the painting methods in 9 volumes of creation. The writing is on the move. Her energy also exploded at this moment. Like the south wind, water comes into being, and the bud finally blooms. She reached the realm of the chaotic spiritual spring, and then began to suppress the realm. When Li Fan saw Zi Ling starting to practice seriously, he nodded and didn't care too much. He turned to look at Tugu Yuking and said, "The art of calligraphy can be roughly divided into 5 categories. Regular script, running script, cursive script, official script, seal script. Before, what you learned was only scratchy. The basic skills are solid enough. Now, you can study in the most comprehensive way. You can study this 5 books of Taoyan slowly." Li Fan also handed a book to Tugu Yuking. Tugu Yuking took it solemnly, opened it and was shocked. Regular script, a mighty sword, dignified, powerful and unstoppable, like Wang Eleven's Huang Ting Jing. Running script, the dragon's sword, communicates between heaven and earth, and is invincible, such as preface to the Lanting collection and manuscript of the Nephew Memorial. Cursive script, the unpredictable sword, is ever-changing and omnipresent, like Champion Post. Official script, the sword of the Great Road, is all-encompassing and penetrates the universe, just like Lanja carved stone. Seal script, the sword of creation, the heaven and earth first opened, and chaos reappeared, like Mount Tai's carved stones. The 5 books of Dayan are actually the ultimate in the way of swordsmanship. Defeating the enemy and destroying the world is just a low-level skill. Once you practice to the extreme, when you reach the peak, a single sword can restart the era and reenact 10,000 ways. It was only today that Tugu Yuking felt like the clouds had cleared. He was in a trance, as if he had seen his past self. He had been hesitant in the way of swordsmanship, and was stuck in a certain realm and could not advance. Is that the shadow of my previous life, the regret of my previous life? In this life, there is no need to repeat the same mistakes again. He will conquer everything. Tugu Yuking started practicing. His realm is also flying rapidly, crossing the divine way and reaching chaos. This book 7 Essentials of Planting has the most comprehensive discussion on planting. Li Fan gave Lu Rang a comprehensive collection of planting and breeding techniques, including pest control, grafting techniques, etc. Lu Rang was shocked when he saw this book. Pruning, the great method of cutting the sky. Can it cut off the foundation of the avenue? Cut off everything. Grafting, the magical power of wedding. Can you graft other people's cultivation methods onto me and my grass? Lu Rang was speechless. This 7 Essentials of Planting and Breeding is simply amazing. After Lu Rang got the 7 Essentials of Planting and Breeding, he went to play. Li Fan looked at Long Zixuan. Long Zixuan suddenly became nervous and looked at Li Fan expectantly. What the senior brothers and sisters have obtained are the supreme laws of the realm of chaos. Although you have not been able to catch a fish so far, your character has been matured. I will give you the 6 skills of hunting the sky. If you study accordingly, it won't be long before you can let me have a meal of fish. Li Fan handed Long Zixuan a book. Long Zixuan took it and took a look, but his pupils suddenly shrank and he was amazed. The 6 hunting skills, on the surface, are the 6 technical points of hunting. The mind must be strong, the eyes must be clear, the ears must be sensitive, the legs must be fast, the hands must be ruthless, and the arrows must be accurate. It seems that it can be used for fishing and hunting. But in fact, these 6 techniques can be called the supreme treasure of martial arts. The so-called "the mind must be strong" is to cultivate the indestructible martial arts will. Once the mind is perfected, the martial arts will alone can defeat the enemy without fighting. The so-called eyes need to be clear, which is the art of eye training, you can cultivate the martial arts eye. Once it is cultivated, you can instantly detect all flaws and detect all martial arts methods. To have a sharp ear means to be able to observe all directions, listen to sounds and identify their location, and even be able to discern the echoes of the ages. If your legs are fast, you must have the ability to move without a trace, unparalleled speed and unrivaled strength. To be ruthless, you need to use all kinds of hands, including fists, palms, fingers, seals. The so-called accuracy of arrows refers to the art of archery, because warriors fight close to the body, but once they are attacked by the enemy from a distance, they are easily helpless. Therefore, they must practice archery to become invincible at both distance and near. Xuanhuan thought of the bow and arrow hanging on the wall in master's study. It can destroy all causes and effects, and it can kill enemies through time. At this moment, Xuanhuan was excited. Will one day be able to hold a bow and hold it for eternity? Written while catching up on the high-speed train. Good night. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 754. Li Fan taught them one by one. Nanfeng, Ziling, Xuanhuan and Lu Rang have all obtained the corresponding chaos methods. Li Fan then looked at Qing Chen and thought for a moment. Qing Chen had almost swept the floor, and it was time to learn something else. But what the monk learned, well, it seems that there is another book in the system. This book 11 Zen is given to you. Li Fan handed Qing Chen a book. This book 11 Zen contains 11 short stories, which Li Fan would read as a story when he was bored. Qing Chen got 11 Zen, but a look of shock suddenly flashed in his eyes. The 11 Zen are the true method of the Supreme Brahma. Including debate Zen, closed-mouth Zen, future Zen, past Zen, etc., a total of 11 types. Debate Zen can transform everything through conversation. If you keep your mouth shut and remain silent, it is unfathomable. Future Zen, know the future with a snap of your fingers. 11 Zen, this is the most profound method of Brahma. Qing Chen couldn't help but speak solemnly. Zen Buddhism is originally the most mysterious and profound method in the Brahma path. It also pays the most attention to nature and can reach the end of the Brahma path the fastest. However, the more advanced this method is, the easier it is for practitioners to go astray without realizing it. But Li Fan asked Qing Chen to sweep the ground in the small courtyard for 4 or 5 years. Being with spiders and sleeping with ants allowed him to temper his mind amidst such ordinary and trivial matters. When the mind is perfected, the Zen method will also be perfected. If you know how to attack and defend, you can study the 5 music scores. You can learn this book slowly. Li Fan gave Zhang Li a copy of the 5 scores of chess. There are 5 major chess chapters in Wu Pu. The spectrum of rotten subjects, the spectrum of grass and trees, the spectrum of vomiting blood, the spectrum of women, and the spectrum of blood and tears. Every chess game is a level of avenue. When Zhang Li saw the vomiting blood spectrum and vegetation spectrum, he felt vaguely familiar. Among them, the vomiting blood score made him feel as if it was made by his own hand, while the grass tree score was similar to the black and white chess skills. As for the others, they are unfamiliar. These 5 scores are left by the 5 great chess masters in history. Although they have not reached the ultimate level of chess, if they can learn it, they can be called everyone. Li Fan spoke calmly. Hearing this, Zhang Li understood instantly. What the master gave me was the supreme method left behind by all the top players who have embarked on the chess path throughout the ages. Among them are his own, black and white, and those of several peerless figures whose names are unknown. Thank you, master. Zhang Li was extremely excited. The big black dog was on the other side. The dog's eyes became more serious and said, "Has the master observed all the Dharma and all the ways in all eternity? Chess, painting, piano, all the famous articles and unique skills of each avenue, the master actually collected them all." It felt that breaking a dog's head was unimaginable. What a feat it would be. Wu Dade was also enthusiastic at this moment. He hurriedly stepped forward and said, "Master, what about me? Can I learn something new?" His eyes were full of passion. Li Fanbujin glanced at the big black dog on one side, nodded and said, "Well, raising a dog, does well. It seems that your talent in this area is still good. Here, 3 birds and 5 animals is given to you. 3 poultry and 5 livestock, that is, the method of raising the 3 poultry, chickens, ducks, and geese, as well as the 5 livestocks, pigs, cows, sheep, horses, and dogs. The native dog breeding and postpartum care of sows previously studied by Wu Dade are, in a sense, just branches of this 3 birds and 5 livestock." Wu Dade was stunned when he got 3 birds and 5 animals. The 3 birds and 5 animals are also a body training method. However, this body training method is really abnormal. Being bitten by a dog is just the beginning. If you want to develop the strongest body, you need to be burned by the true fire of the phoenix, be frozen like a chalk jackdaw for eternity, and be pecked by the ancient sky-devouring geese. In short, in addition to being bitten by dogs, he will also be trampled by horses, rammed by cattle, and stabbed by sheep horns. Wu Dade looked a little stupid. A big black dog, he felt, was cruel enough. He had already suffered all kinds of hardships and suffered all kinds of pain. Unexpectedly, hard times are still to come. That's too much. Wow, my beloved, you should be happy. These creatures are terrifying beings that have never been seen in ancient times. The Master has collected them all with the power of the heaven and the earth and prepared them for you. Aren't you happy? The big black dog, however, was gloating about his misfortune. Wu Dade's face turned dark, but after thinking about it, he gritted his teeth and fought hard. No pain no gain. He turned around and looked towards the chickens. Burned by the true fire of the phoenix. He touched it quietly. Then, a certain native chicken flapped its wings casually. Wu Dade suddenly felt that there seemed to be some invisible fire power surrounding him. "I don't feel it," Wu Dade muttered. As soon as he finished speaking, an invisible flame suddenly fell on Wu Dade's mouth. Wu Dade's eyes immediately went straight, he stretched his legs and stared, then he lay down flat, his whole body twitching slightly. He wanted to say, "Sister Phoenix, I was wrong." However, he couldn't say it at all. The fire was so real that it numbed his mouth and began to spread throughout his body. Wu Dade turned back pitifully and glanced at the big black dog. "That means, dead dog, come and save me, otherwise I will be dead." But at the same time, the chicken that flapped its wings just now also glanced at the big black dog. The big black dog suddenly became furious and said hurriedly, "Wow, sister, please take your time and play with me. This person is rough-skinned and thick-bodied, so he can ravage you at will." After saying that, it slipped behind the peach tree. When Wu Dade saw this, his eyes looked filled with sadness, anger, and aggrievement. He wanted to say, "Damn dog, you betrayed your teammates." At this moment, Li Fan was already teaching Lin Zhuzhan the new heavenly master Taoism. When Tianqi Dao enters the realm of chaos, it is no longer just limited to talismans. The so-called Kanya can exhaust the power of the 4 universes and 8 wastelands. The so-called fortune-telling can be traced throughout the past and present. The so-called longevity means that your lifespan can exceed that of heaven and earth, and your life can be as long as that of chaos. Zinning got a thick stack of books. Stacked together, they are as tall as her. From the history of the spring and autumn period to Chu Ci and Hanfu, from Si Lu parallel prose to Sui and Tang dynasty verses, From song Xuanhuan music to universal novels. Xuanning felt a little dazed for a moment. There was a trace of uncertainty in her big eyes, and she said weakly, "Big brother, do I have to learn all of these?" Li Fan nodded and said, "Well, come on, after reading this, you can naturally become a great person." He is quite looking forward to it. Xuanning has been trained like this since he was a child. In the future, he will not only be everyone, but also a great writer. Xuanning suddenly felt a little upset. She suddenly remembered that when she left the Yangjian, she left a lot of homework for Tianling. It's true, heaven is so good at reincarnation, who will be spared by heaven? She silently opened the book, but when she opened the first spring and autumn, she was shocked. The birth of white mist originates from the tide changes in the Black Sea. The tides collide, white mist occasionally appears, and creatures are born. When the tide goes down, the white mist will dissipate and turn into gray mist. She blinked her big eyes. What was written in this book? Is it the history of the origin of everything in the world? She put down the spring and autumn period in her hand and read other books. The classic of mountains and seas records the various terrifying beasts in the world throughout the ages, as well as their abilities, weaknesses, etc. Huananzi, also known as Huanan Hungli, records the history of the creation of many ancient beings in the ancient times. The book describes their ways in detail. Chu Ci records the rise and fall of the ancient witch clan, as well as many rituals and spells unique to the witch clan. She took a breath of air instantly. She looked at her elder brother and subconsciously understood something. What the eldest brother gave me, was all the history and all the knowledge in the entire history of the world. Those strong men who once amazed the years but finally fell into silence. Tribes that were once extremely prosperous but eventually returned to dust. Those avenues that once shone for eternity but finally disappeared in the dark night. She suddenly felt an unprecedented heaviness. What the eldest brother gave me was a special and heavy gift. Thank you, big brother. Xuanning will definitely read them all and memorize them all. She has made up her mind to keep these forgotten histories in mind. When Li Fan heard this, he was startled. It's okay to read them all. Do you know them by heart? Although these classics are the best works in the history of literature, and regular reading can cultivate the body and mind, but memorizing them is not necessary. He couldn't help but glance at Xuanning with a complicated expression. This child has had great ambitions since he was a child. Better than myself. Come on. He couldn't help but speak. Xuanning nodded vigorously. Li Fan gave Gongya a tea classic and a kitchen classic. Gongya was very happy. The tea book is the supreme mental method for cultivating the Tao of chaos, and the cooking book is a collection of great skills. Only Subakian was not in a hurry. Her practice was completely different from others. The disease classic and medicine classic that Li Fan taught her before can still be used. Senior sisters and brothers have all made breakthroughs. Subakian looked at her senior sisters and brothers, thought about it, and said, "Well, let me make some medicine for myself tomorrow and catch up with them." She is very calm. After mastering medicine, if she just wants to upgrade, it will be easy for her. It may not be difficult to become the highest level person in Wuhuang realm in a short period of time. But she no longer values the level of cultivation so much. No matter how strong you are, you will be poisoned to death. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 755. In the blink of an eye, everyone has obtained the practice method of the realm of chaos. Except for Subakian, everyone has entered the realm of chaos and stopped at around the middle stage of the spiritual spring realm. Everyone was quite happy. Everyone got something new. Well, I can learn something new too. Yun 11's big eyes were filled with happiness at this moment. She didn't ask Li Fan for any training methods, because she had always, learned them all. In a sense, she is the one who has made the fastest progress in cultivation. She was the first to learn all 9 sets of radio gymnastics. In other ways, such as painting, piano, etc., she almost keeps pace with Xiling Nanfan and others. Yun 11 looked at everyone, thought for a while and said. But everyone's realm has improved very quickly, well, let me break through too. As soon as she finished speaking, her breath immediately rose. Cross the Shinto and directly arrive at the realm of Lingquan. Sensing the changes in Yungzi, everyone was a little shocked. Sister Yungzi is too scary, doesn't she even use the chaos method? Do whatever you want and break through whenever you want. It's terrible, it's terrible. A group of disciples all had complicated expressions. I thought I was fast enough, but I didn't expect that Yun 11 was even more evil. Does the shackles of realms seem to not exist for her? Moreover, don't you need to practice the chaos method? The big black dog was hiding behind the peach tree. At this moment, the dog's eyes were filled with fear and he murmured. The woman who can create the 9 Dharma, the only one who can navigate the path without having to be guided by her master, the realm of chaos is just like a plaything to her. Wow, it's so cruel. At this moment, Lu Rang suddenly said loudly. Master, come here quickly. Bodhi child is raised. Qing Chen and the others returned a few days ago and brought a Bodhi seed. But there is not much life left. In order to nourish his vitality, Li Fan placed the Bodhi seed under the peach tree so that it could get some dew when it took shelter from the shade. This can trigger its vitality. Just now, Lu Rang got the 6 essentials of planting and breeding and had a bold idea in his mind. After all, there is a magic technique in 6 essentials of planting and breeding, grafting. You can graft other people's cultivation onto his grass or him. He thought, Sister Tao has so many branches and leaves, and if you drop a small branch casually, it shouldn't have any impact. So he was sneaky and wanted to go to the peach tree and do something bad. As a result, as soon as he got close, the peach tree note drooped lightly, and some kind of energy changes occurred, and Lu Rang suddenly became frightened. It's over, did Sister Tao find out? In desperation, he hurriedly spoke and called the master over for help. Otherwise, he feels like he is going to die. Hearing this, Li Fan also came over. He leaned over and picked up the Bodhi seeds from under the peach tree. The Bodhi seeds at this moment seemed relatively plump. Well, it's ready to be planted. Take it, plant it, and take good care of it. Li Fan handed it to Lu Rang. Generally speaking, Li Fan would only plant plants that were too dead. This Bodhi seed contains vitality, and Lu Rang can also plant it well. Hearing this, Lu Rang immediately felt as if he had been granted amnesty. He took the Bodhi seed and hurried away from the peach tree, saying, Master, don't worry, I will plant it well. Qing Chen also went over to help, and not long after, the two of them had planted the Bodhi seeds. Before long, there may be an extra Bodhi tree in the courtyard. When Li Fan saw this, he was also satisfied and had more expectations. Just one last plant left. With just one step, he can take a step beyond the Qi refining period. The first level of Qi training has trapped him for too long. Even if the last plant is found, it will take 4 or 5 years. Breaking through the Qi refining period in 4 or 5 years is not a qualification in the world of cultivation. Medium. Lower middle? After all, it shouldn't be the most rubbish or the bottom one, right? After all, Li Fan knows that in the world of spiritual practice, chance is also very important. Some low-level disciples may not be able to break through the Qi refining stage in their entire lives. Thinking of this, he felt some comfort in his heart. When you build your own foundation, you will be stronger. Entering the golden elixir is just around the corner. He couldn't help but glance at the disciples in the small courtyard. If one day, these disciples find out that their master is actually a golden elixir stage boss, will they be shocked? No, hold on tight and have a good attitude. Li Fan took a deep breath, his face calm. At this moment, a voice sounded outside the door. Wu Xiaocan, come to meet Senior Li. There was a knock on the door. Li Fandao. Please come in. Wu Xiaocan pushed open the door and entered. Entering the small courtyard, Wu Xiaocan approached with respect. He suddenly felt that it seemed that the aura of his master and the others. Chaos. Moreover, it is stronger than myself. The spiritual spring realm. Wu Xiaocan couldn't help but admire him. In just a few days, his master and the others had made a leap forward. Too strong. Xiao Kun, why are you here? Seeing this, Qing Chen took the initiative to walk over and asked. Wu Xiaocan whispered. Master, we have encountered some trouble. Having traveled with Qing Chen, Lin Zhichuan and others before, he already knew that his master's master, Senior Li, lived in seclusion in the mortal world and did not like to interfere with the affairs of the spiritual world. Therefore, at this moment, he also conveyed the message very wisely and revealed the Great Dao Golden List to the world and the mysterious master. The incoming attack and other matters were discussed one by one. When Qing Chen heard this, he couldn't help but smile and said, this is actively seeking salvation. He immediately turned around and said, Master, Xiao Kun and the others are in some trouble, and I want to go out. Hearing this, Li Fan nodded and said, more people. Since we're going to fight, we still have to pay more attention. He didn't even need to ask, he guessed that it was probably these bullshit things. After all, he often helps outsiders fight, he is used to it. When Huo Linger and others held art exhibitions, they often fought with the market to protect their business. Later, Mu Wanqing and her family were often bullied in the village, so they helped a lot. Li Fan was numb. This world is full of routines. Therefore, since he was going to fight, he didn't bother to ask any more questions. These disciples were very experienced. Hearing this, Qing Chen nodded and said, that's what the master said. Qing Chen immediately looked to the other side and said, Senior brother Long and junior brother Dade, can you come with me? The main purpose of calling Wu Dade was to ask him to take the big black dog with him. As long as the dead dog is around, it is the only one who can trick others and will not be tricked by others. As for Long Zixuan, the main reason was that they had previously discovered that the fighting methods of Wu Xiaocan and others seemed to be somewhat similar to Long Zixuan. Maybe there is some connection. Hearing this, Wu Dade, who was beside the flock of native chickens and was being convulsed by the real fire of the invisible phoenix, suddenly jumped up. He felt that the native chicken finally let him go. At this moment, Wu Dade was so moved that he wanted to cry. Senior brother Qing Chen is such a good person. If he hadn't brought me along, I really don't know how long I would have endured this kind of torture. Okay, fighting is my favorite thing. He stood up, his whole body still feeling hot. Beside the pool, Long Zixuan also nodded and said, Ken. His eyes were also full of expectations. 6 skills of Hunter Sky, practicing martial arts will, eyes, ears, hands, legs, bow, each one is inseparable from actual combat. Master, disciple, can you bring a bow? Long Zixuan turned around and looked at Li Fan. There was a trace of uneasiness in his heart. When Li Fan heard this, he smiled, this Long Zixuan has made some progress this time, he knows how to bring sharp weapons when fighting. Sure. Go to the study and get it yourself. Long Zixuan suddenly became excited and said, disciple, obey. He immediately turned around and walked towards the study. On the wall of the study room, there is a bow and a sword hanging. These are the only 2 weapons in the study. Long Zixuan saw his master carrying this bow once, and it reversed the cause and effect of all eternity, swept across the universe, and became absolutely invincible. He and his master had never seen the sword used before. A bow and a sword hung quietly on the wall, but at this moment, Long Xuanhuan felt a great pressure from the bow. Long Xuanhuan felt as if he was being scrutinized by some terrifying existence. Is that the will from the bow? Long Xuanhuan was under great pressure and sweating, but he gritted his teeth and said, "According to the master's order, come and get the bow." That great pressure seems to have changed a little. That will seem to be whispering, "You are so weak. It would be so shameless to go out with you. There is a bow made by the master in the corner. Take it yourself." "Humph, the master asked you to come get the bow, but he didn't ask me to go by name." Hearing this, Long Xuanhuan almost vomited blood. Damn. Although he has long known that this bow is unfathomable, is it necessary to speak so directly? It's so hurtful. Long Xuanhuan was diagnosed with autism. He turned around and saw a wooden bow embryo in a bamboo basket in the corner. The bow embryo is only in its rudiment and has not yet been strung. But, even so, this bow seems to have some indescribable personality and power. According to the master's order, come and get the bow. Long Xuanhuan whispered and grabbed the bow embryo. Climbing Hungshan Mountain is too tiring. Good night. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 756. Master, I have found a bow. After walking out of the study, Long Xuanhuan reported to Li Fan. Li Fan glanced at it, but was suddenly startled, and there was a hint of caring for the mentally retarded in his eyes. Just now, he felt that Long Xuanhuan had improved and knew how to handle sharp weapons. Unexpectedly, I actually caught such a bow embryo. Is this thing intended to use the bow embryo as a stick, swing it up and smash it? Speechless. He glanced at Qing Chen at the same time, only to see Qing Chen grab his broom again. Li Fan was even more helpless, that's all, his disciples couldn't force themselves. He had no choice but to nod and said, "Go ahead. Be safe." Immediately, Long Xuanhuan, Qing Chen, Wu Dade, Daehego and Wu Xiaoqan turned around and went out. On the way, Wu Xiaoqan also told Wu Dade, Long Xuanhuan and Daehego about the situation. Martial Arts Gold List. After listening to the big black dog, a flash of thought flashed in the dog's eyes, and he glanced at Long Xuanhuan. Based on my rich experience, there is probably a pitfall in this thing. It spoke. Based on Fatty's rich experience of being tricked by you, Fatty believes in you. Wu Dade muttered. Wow, you are so beloved, you don't want to live anymore, do you? Now. Oath-keeping Valley. The dead people are everywhere, and murderous intent is surging. Outside the Oath-keeping Valley, Xian Yizong had arrived. Thousands of people were lined up, and their auras shook the valley. At the entrance of the valley, more than 300 Oath Keepers were neatly arranged in a square formation. Wu Song stood at the front, with a cold look in his old eyes. Beside him, there was a girl standing with a sword. Xian King Ai. In this great dispute, she chose to side with the Tomb Keeper. Xian King Ai, you traitor! Xian Yizong, Xian Kaiyulan stared at Xian King Ai and shouted angrily. Not only did you betray your master, but you also dared to surrender to the enemy. You deserve to die. Xian King Ai said decisively. Unfortunately, our clan was bewitched by traitors. As the old saying goes, if the emperor is not upright, the ministers will surrender to foreign countries. Today, why bother to say more? I just want a fight. Court death. Xian Kaiyulan's face was full of anger. He turned his head, looked at the sect leader Xian Tiankai, and said. Sect master, let's do it. Killing this little tomb keeper is just a snap of the fingers. Xian Tiankai glanced at the Oath Keeper's square formation calmly and said. The enemy's formation is a little weird. I have been practicing for many years and have never seen it in the world of practice. In my opinion, I would like to test it out first. Let your son Xian Baisong go. Xian Kaiyulan. He really wanted to say, damn, your own son has been arranged to go to Balan dynasty, and let my son charge? Real dog. He said angrily. Baisong, come on. Xian Baisong. After being startled for a moment, Xian Baisong still stepped out from the crowd. He took a general glance and found that Wu Song, the strongest member of the Oath Keeper's lineage, was only in the middle of the third realm, the same level as him. There was a trace of hatred in his eyes. My son's death is due to you and others. Today, avenge my son. He shouted loudly and said, 500 people, follow me to charge and kill. There are only 300 Oath Keepers, and he can lead 500 masters, which is more than enough. In an instant, 500 masters from Xianyi sect rode on powerful black scale horses and followed him. The sound of hooves is like thunder. There were more people in the Xianyi sect, and their charge on black scale horses was far more powerful than usual. At this moment, the Oath Keepers' phalanx looked like no man's land in their eyes. If they form a square formation, they will only be beaten to pieces by the black scale horses, causing heavy casualties. Old Wu, disperse the clansmen and use the terrain to fight them. Seeing the black-scaled cavalry approaching, Xian King I couldn't help but remind him. Her beautiful eyes were full of worry. After all, there are only 300 Oath Keepers, and their strength is generally not as good as that of the Xianyi section. If they form an array like this, they will die miserably. However, Wu Song shook his head and said, no, don't retreat. Today, let the world see the splendor of our Oath Keepers clan. Then, he raised his hand. Do it with me. Wu Song shouted and said. Broadcast gymnastics, dancing youth, starting now. Preparation day, 1, 2, 3, 4. He started right away, doing gymnastics. Seeing this, the 300 Oath Keepers at the rear all started to perform dance exercises in unison. 1 2 3 4. Wu Song roars like an angry lion, and every syllable is roared with an extremely powerful voice. He moved slowly, but with all his might. Everyone in the audience followed his movements. Along with the rhythm of the Xuanhuan, 300 Oath Keepers danced to the radio gymnastics. This scene seems extremely magical. At this moment, suddenly, the color of the world changed, and the storm suddenly started. Xian King I couldn't help but change her pretty face. This kind of style is indeed extraordinary. Endless chaotic spiritual energy is gathering towards this area, jumping with the Oath Keeper's gymnastics, as if it is condensing into a spiritual energy storm. No. A Xuanyi sect cultivator rushing in front suddenly felt something was wrong. The next moment, he and his horse were thrown away. This was just the beginning. Under the raging spiritual energy storm, dozens of people from the Xianyizong were swept up into the sky and smashed down heavily. They were killed and injured. What's the situation? No, this spiritual energy, why does it feel like a big wave? Can't get closer. Everyone shouted and spoke in shock. For a moment, the team of 500 Xuanyi sect experts led by Xian Baisong became chaotic. Hold on. Xian Baisong was very angry and said. Keep charging, don't retreat. He shook the reins and led a group of masters to break through this spiritual storm. However, at this moment, Wu Song suddenly shouted. Xuanhuan, get up. Suddenly, there was a fierce Xuanhuan sound in the field. They are tomb keepers, so they are proficient in the art of funeral and traveling, and Xuanhuan is no problem. During this time, while practicing radio gymnastics, they found that with music, their movements became more powerful and gymnastics became more enjoyable. So, at the critical moment, they used Xuanhuan. At this moment, the Xuanhuan sounds, high-spirited and upward, crossing the valley, and everyone in the Oath Keeper's family is refreshed. 300 Oath Keepers, guided by the Xuanhuan, performed radio gymnastics. This scene was extremely magical. In Wusong's mouth, the four beats continued to shout. 5, 6, 7, 8. Raise your hands, put your hands on your hips, and kick your legs. 300 Oath Keepers kicked their legs at the same time, and immediately, the spiritual energy violently rioted. Even Xian Baisong's pupils shrank at this moment. He felt that he couldn't bear it at all. How can it be? He is a cultivator in the middle stage of the three realms. However, before he had time to think about it, the black-scaled horse under his crotch suddenly neighed loudly, its front hooves were lifted up, and it suddenly flipped over. Xian Baisong was also knocked away. Bang! He hit the ground hard and vomited blood on the spot. Seeing this, everyone present was shocked. How is this going? What kind of evil magic do these tomb guards use? It's so powerful. Those actions, when done together, are so terrifyingly powerful. Everyone in Xianyizong spoke one after another. As for Xian Tiankai, his expression turned serious at this moment and he said, "Ancient method. This must be the ancient method Xian King I described before. The power is simply beyond imagination. If our Xuanyi sect can get it, we will definitely be invincible in Baichuanzhou." His eyes are hot. In the back, on a carriage, He Luo watched the scene from a distance, and his old eyes also flashed with surprise and uncertainty. This ancient method is unheard of and unseen. Even if that organization doesn't exist, right? He was extremely suspicious. Could it be that those families from the true ancestor realm have people coming? In the pre-White Mist era, the Chaos ancestral realm was a whole. However, after a great war that destroyed the world, 1 realm, 4 realms, and 8 wastelands were formed. 1 realm refers to the true ancestral realm, which has the original Chaos realm. Half of the ancestral world. The status of the true ancestral realm also far exceeds that of the 4 realms and 8 wastelands. Nowadays, the most powerful inheritance of the Chaos ancestral realm, the 9 laws, is almost all there. Among the 4 realms and 8 wildernesses, there are very few forces that exceed the 6 realms. Almost all of the most powerful ancient practitioners in the world are in the true ancestor realm. He mused. And at this moment, front. Sect Master, charge with all your strength, catch them, and get the ancient method. Xian Kaiyulan can't wait. Xian Tiankai waved his hand. Kill. Xian Yizong, the whole army attacked. Thousands of people attacked, and the momentum was so loud that the earth almost trembled. It is murderous and extremely compelling. In comparison, there are only 300 Oath Keepers, who are alone. The murderous aura was so intense that the Oath Keepers' movements at this moment were somewhat chaotic and stagnant. The time for the Oath Keepers to learn the Dancing Youth Preparation Festival is still too short. The overall strength is still much weaker than Xian Yizong. They're gone, rush. Kill them. Seize the ancient method and build a sect. Everyone in Xian Yizong shouted loudly when they saw this. Old Wu, I can't stand it anymore. What to do? All the Oath Keepers looked ugly and panicked. However, at this moment, a terrifying storm struck from nowhere. The smoke and dust rose up like a tornado, sweeping across the field and flying hundreds of riders. What happened? Where did the tornado come from? Everyone in Xianyizong was shocked and hurriedly reined in their horses and stood up, not daring to move rashly. Spiritual storm. Xian Tiankai looked in a certain direction. I saw a group of young people already appearing over there. 4 young people, always a big black dog. At this moment, the leading monk had a smile on his face and a broom in his hand. There are still wisps of wind flowing through the end of the broom. Xian Tiankai's eyes suddenly shrank. Did the terrifying tornado just now come from this monk? Another chapter to catch up on tomorrow. Let's do this for now, go to sleep. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 757. A storm stopped everyone in the field. At this moment, everyone's eyes turned away. Owner. When Wu Song saw Qing Chen and others, his eyes suddenly filled with joy and excitement. The master is finally here. Meet the master. Meet the master. The Oath Keepers all knelt down in unison, very solemnly. Seeing this, everyone in Xuanyi sect was even more shocked. The owner of the Gravekeeper? It seems that these people should be the people behind the scenes who teach the ancient tomb keeper techniques. Haha, they finally came out. Catch them and our Xianyizong will be stable. Many of the elders of Xianyizong had blazing eyes, as if they were looking at a piece of cake. Xian Tiankai also stared at Qing Chen and others with an extremely solemn expression. Behind Xianyizong, in the carriage, Mr. He Luo's eyes were solemn and he murmured. Are they really the guardians? Why am I so unfamiliar with these young people? Especially that big black dog, it doesn't look simple, a 5-realm chaos beast. He is a cultivator of the 5 realms. Chaos spiritual chi realm, spiritual spring realm, spiritual rainbow realm, 4 refining realm, 5 Tibet realm, and 6 Yun realm. These are the first 6 realms of chaos realm. However, he who still cultivated Wuzang, actually felt that he couldn't see through the big black dog. Even among the few 6th and 7th realm forces in the martial wilderness world, there are no such beasts. These people are most likely not natives of the Wuhuang world. But at this moment, Ao Wushuan, who was sitting next to him, looked at the monk, the fat man, the dog, with a look of despair. He was almost numb. Why does the black hand of fate always favor me? He was convinced and really wanted to talk to God about life. However, he still said to He Luo, Sir, these people don't seem to be easy to mess with. Us, why don't we withdraw first? He didn't even have hope. After all, Ao Wushuan could hardly dissuade anyone who wanted to conquer this small mountain village. They all have to be sent. However, it is a routine matter and we have fulfilled our obligations. It would be very unscrupulous not to give some advice. Withdraw what? As soon as Ao Wushuan finished speaking, Wu Qi said with a hint of sarcasm on his face. They are just a few ants. If we catch them, the ancient method is just around the corner. Are we going to withdraw at this time? Ao Wushuan, are you mentally ill? He simply couldn't figure it out. Ao Wushuan was such a coward. He needed courage but not courage, and ability but not ability. Why would Lord Hai Luo let him join the organization? So unfair. Sir, we should take action directly and capture these people. Wu Qi suggested to He Luo at the same time. However, He Luo shook his head and said. You are the one who is brainless. What do you know? Listen to Ao Wushuan and let the carriage retreat quietly. He is very cautious. After all, if he is really a guardian, then it means that his whereabouts may really be exposed. The guardian must have laid a trap waiting for him to jump. After all, the guardian has always been the sworn enemy of the forbidden visitor. Once he is discovered, it will be bad if something happens to him and secondarily, affecting the big plan in the martial world. At this time, we need to be more cautious. When Wu Qi heard this, he felt extremely aggrieved. Maid, have you thought wrong again? As for Ao Wushuan, he couldn't help but be shocked at this moment. Someone actually listened to his advice? This is simply, an unprecedented first time. He couldn't help but get excited. He held Lord Hailuo's hand and said, "Sir, you are so wise. You are the most sensible person I have ever met." Hailuo felt a little weird when he heard this. What does it mean to be the most sensible person? However, he still looked at Xuanhuan with appreciation and said, "Now I finally know why you survived that tomb. Just because of your caution, you are suitable for us as a visitor. I saw the right person right. What a good seedling, we need to cultivate it carefully in the future, maybe it will be able to play a leading role in the future." At this moment, Xuanhuan also suddenly felt that he and Hailuo felt like they had met at a late date. "Sir, let's retreat quickly." Arrow nodded, waved his hand, and signaled the carriage to retreat quietly. At the same time, he sent a message to Xiantiankai. "Attack! Ahead!" Xiantiankai felt extremely solemn at this moment. The master behind the tomb keeper finally appeared. Not only did he master a powerful and mysterious ancient method, but the storm that the monk had just swept away with the broom was also terrifying. The broom in the opponent's hand is some kind of powerful magic weapon. Moreover, that dog doesn't look simple either. He deeply felt that the young people in front of him definitely had a good background. Is it appropriate to provoke? However, Hero's message came immediately. He sighed and immediately stopped hesitating. "Thanks to saving my son, I, Xiantiankai, can only be devastated." He had no choice. Hailuo gave his son a future. As a father, even if he died in return, he would have no regrets. "Kill. Catch these young men." He drinks low. Immediately, the masters of Xianyizong rushed towards Long Zixuan and others. There are 13 elders in the middle and late stages of the three realms. Xiankayulan is in the early stage of the four realms. 14 people, masters of the third level or above, swept in. Wherever they passed, smoke and dust flew everywhere, and the ground shook. "I'll deal with the one from the four realms, and you can divide the rest between you." As soon as Long Zixuan finished speaking, people were already rushing towards Xiankayulan. "Senior brother Long, you jumped the gun again." Wu Dade was scolding him, and when there was a fight, Long Zixuan ran faster than anyone else. But just as he finished speaking, he found that Qing Chen had also rushed away. "I have 7, you have 6. Qing Chen opened his mouth. Wu Dade was speechless. "Sure enough, if you talk too much, you will lose." He also charged it. 3 young people in the Lingquan realm faced 14 strong men in the third realm or above. Crazy. Looking for death. What about ancient practitioners? If you seek death like this, you will definitely die. Everyone in Xianyizong sneered. On the other side, Wu Song, Xian King Ai, Wu Xiaokan and others were also a little worried. In a head-on confrontation, using the weak to attack the strong, using the small to fight the large, this disadvantage is too great. At this moment, the 3 of them finally collided with the 14 masters of Xianyi sect. "How dare you, alone, be so arrogant?" An elder roared and suddenly blasted his palms towards Qing Chen. The powerful spiritual energy fluctuations made the surrounding trees shake. However, Qing Chen pushed forward with one hand. Bang! The two collided, and Qing Chen actually refused to take a step back. The old man was suddenly surprised, with a look of disbelief in his eyes. He felt that Qing Chen's spiritual power was extremely strong. It actually seems to be no weaker than the 3 realms. "Go to hell!" He continued to shout and attack wildly. "Death? It's really uncivilized. Donor, this little monk is here to save you." As Qing Chen spoke, he quickly cut in. His movements were very fast, and his hands were almost invisible. The elder's eyes only felt blurred, and then he felt his forehead shake, buzzing, and he was directly knocked away by Qing Chen. On the other side, an old man kicked Wu Dade hard. Xianyi broke through the foot of the mountain. The old man shouted loudly and very quickly. Wu Dade felt that it was too late to react, so he had to turn around subconsciously, with his butt backwards. The old man kicked Wu Dade directly in the butt. "What the hum is your ass?" After 2 kicks, the old man immediately regretted it. He hugged his right foot and stepped back in horror. No. He has a divine gold protective gear on his butt. It hurts my feet from kicking him. He plotted against me. The old man pointed at Wu Dade and complained angrily. When Wu Dade heard this, he immediately became angry and said, "Old man, how can you taint someone's innocence out of thin air? Fat master, this is a pure butt, you can't kick it, do you blame me?" This guy actually wanted to wrong him, it was too much. Plot. Are you that kind of person? At the same time, he was also a little embarrassed in his heart. Sure enough, after letting the phoenix really burn, his physical skills improved again. You have to thank Sister Feng when you go back. Don't talk to him anymore, chop him to death. At this time, another old man had already raised his knife and chopped at Wu Dade. Qing Chen and Wu Dade have already entered the team battle. On the other side, Long Xuanhuan was alone against Xian Kaiyulan. Xian Kaiyulan glanced at the field, with a hint of ridicule in his old eyes, and said, "Haha, I have to admit, you are indeed a little special. But it's a pity that the gap between realms is a chasm. Today, you will only be strangled." Long Xuanhuan whispered. "The chasm? What I crossed is the chasm." On his feet, it was like 2 explosives exploded, killing Xian Kaiyulan directly with explosive speed. "Your legs need to be fast." His hands, a fist and a palm, cut in instantly. "Young man, speed alone is not enough." Xian Kaiyulan sneered, raised his hand, and released his spiritual power, forming a spiritual power shield. In the Linghong realm, spiritual power can be attached to the surface of the body, and can be released up to about 3 inches. After reaching the 4th refining realm, spiritual power can be released directly to the outside world through the body, which has many wonderful uses and is extremely powerful. At this moment, his spiritual power shield is better than any armor, iron shield, etc., and can't be broken through. Long Xuanhuan's fists and palms suddenly hit his spiritual shield. Xian Kaiyulan remained motionless. He sneered and said, "The weak are weak. In front of the strong, resistance will only look stupid." But, he just finished speaking. Long Xuanhuan suddenly kicked somewhere in Xian Kaiyulan's spiritual power cover. Boom! Xian Kaiyulan's spiritual shield suddenly exploded. This kick hit Xian Kaiyulan directly in the chest and kicked Xian Kaiyulan away. Everyone at the scene was shocked. What happened? Elder Xian Kaiyulan was actually kicked away. It's unbelievable. A 2nd-level cultivator kicks away a 4th-level cultivator. If you tell me, even ghosts won't believe it. Everyone was in an uproar. Xian Tiankai's eyes suddenly wrinkled. Even he couldn't figure out what happened. How did that young man do it? But on the carriage that was already retreating, He Luo's pupils flashed with the light of surprise and joy at this moment, saying, "Martial arts wizard." Logically speaking, this chapter belongs to what I owe last night. I am continuing to write today, and I don't know when I will finish it. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 758. The battle had just begun, and Xian Kaiyulan was actually knocked away by a 2nd-level cultivator, which surprised everyone. This is simply unimaginable. Martial arts wizard must be. His explosive power, superb boxing and palm skills, and sharp eyes, he can be called a genius. But He Luo had a hint of joy on his face. For many years, the organization has been looking for martial arts wizards. Although some gains have been made, it is not enough. This person's strength may be useful. He mused. And in the station, Long Zixuan stared at Xian Kaiyulan flying upside down and whispered. You need to have a clear eye, your spiritual power shield is very powerful, but unfortunately, it has flaws. If it were anyone else, I'm afraid they would really be helpless in the face of Xian Kaiyulan's spiritual shield. However, even though he had just begun to practice the 6 essentials of hunting the sky, he could feel the weakness of Xian Kaiyulan's spiritual power shield. With just one kick, he concentrated all his strength. So, broken. I underestimated you. Xian Kaiyulan stood up slowly. He felt that several of his ribs were broken. This made him extremely angry. The murderous intention has arisen. If I don't kill you, it will be in vain for me to be the strongest in the 4 realms. You will definitely die. He roared angrily, his spiritual power covering his legs, and he was about to fly into the air. Those who cultivate in the 4 realms have an extremely huge advantage over those who cultivate in the 3 realms. Because practitioners of the 4 realms can control the air. The cultivators of the 3 realms can at most leave the ground briefly with a powerful explosion. Once the cultivators of the 4th realm leave the ground, the cultivators of the 3rd and 2nd realms can only be dominated. This is because cultivators of the 3rd and 2nd realms cannot attack in the air, but cultivators of the 4th realm can easily kill enemies on the ground with the release of spiritual power. However, just as his body started to float, Long Zixuan suddenly picked up a huge boulder next to him and threw it towards him. Xian Kaiyulan ducked sideways. However, the moment he dodged, his speed in the air suddenly slowed down. Long Zixuan has already rushed over, very fast. Long Zixuan has already seen that once Xian Kaiyulan is left in the air, the battle will be very difficult. Therefore, no matter what, he had to drag Xian Kaiyulan with him. Xian Kaiyulan was already levitating, but had not yet taken off. Seeing Long Zixuan coming at this moment, he took action in anger. Xuanyi Divine Fist. He shouted loudly, and each punch he punched brought with it a surge of spiritual power. As long as he hit one punch, he was sure to kill Long Zixuan. However, Long Zixuan's speed was very fast, and his movements were even weirder, like a ghost. Be quick on your feet. Long Zixuan was surrounded by dangers. He avoided punch after punch and tried his best to dodge. Finally, he approached Xian Kaiyulan and collided with Xian Kaiyulan. Bang bang bang. Fists pounding. Xian Kaiyulan was even more shocked. He was already in the 4th refinement realm and his body had been strengthened like never before. An ordinary cultivator could be reduced to pulp with one punch. However, this young man's physical body is actually so strong. The most terrifying thing is the other person's consciousness. As if he was born for martial arts, in the face of huge disadvantages, he can still avoid his most lethal advantages and find every flaw in his boxing skills. He felt that if Long Zixuan was in the same realm as him, then he might not even be able to catch Long Zixuan's 3 moves. Moreover, he felt that the opponent became more and more courageous with every defeat, and during the fight with him, he actually seemed to gain insight into his fighting style. Long Zixuan is growing at a speed visible to the naked eye. I won't give you a chance. He shouted loudly, and his spiritual power covered his whole body. Long Zixuan punched him in the chest. Xian Kaiyulan suddenly stepped back, his face turned pale, but he took advantage of the situation and took off into the air. He was finally in the air. Despite being attacked by Long Zixuan's punch, he still wanted to control the air. This is the advantage that makes the strong in the 4 realms invincible. Go to hell. He roared angrily, and streams of spiritual power fell crazily towards Long Zixuan. Like a sharp blade. Long Zixuan sighed slightly and could only use his body skills to avoid it. However, at this moment, Xian Kaiyulan no longer had any scruples and attacked with all his strength, showing the level expected of a generation of strong men in the four realms. The attacks were as dense as rain, reaching the limit of body skills. Long Xuanhuan murmured, and he finally began to relax his suppression of cultivation. His cultivation has passed through the middle stage of Lingquan and reached the late stage of Lingquan. This made his footwork faster. This made Xuanhuan even more shocked. This young man actually broke through the situation in a leisurely manner? You could have broken through the realm a long time ago, but I used my hand to make your Dao foundation even stronger, bold. He was extremely angry, his cultivation level exploded, and he shouted. Thunder is like death. Long Xuanhuan's location was directly locked within 30 steps. Comprehensive spiritual attack coverage. Let Long Xuanhuan have no room to use his skills. Long Xuanhuan could only resist. And the consequences of resisting forcefully is death. At this moment, Long Xuanhuan's Danshan was boiling. There was already a vast ocean in his Danshan. The average person's spiritual spring is only a small pool at most, and it needs to be accumulated over time. However, since they met Li Fan, they have been accumulating the purest and supreme source energy every day. Therefore, in the spirit spring realm, the gas turns into spirit spring very quickly. Sea of spirits may be more suitable to describe them. A rainbow rises in one breath. Long Xuanhuan roared. In the spiritual sea, the tide surged, and a golden rainbow light emerged from it. Spiritual rainbow realm. He broke into the third realm. All the power in his body burst out, and his body was covered with a layer of pale golden spiritual power, resisting the attack, and then rushed out of the 30-step range. Boom! The area within 30 steps seemed to have been exploded by a bomb. Long Xuanhuan rushed out, covered in blood. His body was covered with small wounds. Even though he had broken through to the third realm, he still couldn't resist the spiritual attack from the strong men in the fourth realm. Covered with bruises. Not dying is already difficult. Long Xuanhuan's dragon soul was roaring, and he suddenly jumped into the forest. Where are you escaping? Xuanhuan is approaching quickly. Long Xuanhuan was able to break through continuously, which made him truly feel fear. If such a genius grows up, who can stop it? Who is his opponent? We must take advantage of the fact that Long Xuanhuan is seriously injured and completely eliminate him. However, as soon as he flew over the forest, a huge ancient tree suddenly stabbed towards him from the ground. Little tricks. Xuanhuan blasted out with a palm, and the tree exploded. But then, big trees and boulders flew towards them like arrows. In the forest, Long Xuanhuan was leaping around. Wherever he went, everything became his weapon and was thrown into the sky. Densely packed. Xuanhuan's vision was blocked. Can this hurt me? He sneered and kept blasting out his spiritual power. Not a single boulder or tree could come even 10 steps in front of him. However, suddenly, a figure suddenly jumped out of the ancient tree that did not hit him directly, but flew past him. Long Xuanhuan. What? Xuanhuan was shocked. Long Xuanhuan actually clung to the big tree and approached him. Why is this guy so mean? Before he could react, Long Xuanhuan was already approaching. At this moment, he actually saw that the blood condensed into a dragon outside Long Xuanhuan's body. Long Xuanhuan seems to be riding a dragon. This sight directly dazzled Xuanhuan. Long Xuanhuan suddenly stepped down. No. Xuanhuan wanted to stop him, but found that Long Xuanhuan's foot was so powerful and heavy that he could no longer maintain control of the air and was directly stepped on and fell. Boom! Long Xuanhuan stepped on Xuanhuan and hit the ground heavily. Sand and gravel splashed everywhere, and there was a big hole on the ground. Xuanhuan was smashed into the soil, not knowing whether he was alive or dead. Long Xuanhuan's body was stained with blood, but he was extremely iron-blooded, like a warrior god. Everyone looked a little stunned. This scene is so amazing. A young man from the third realm, bucking the trend, actually pushed a strong man from the fourth realm into the sky. This kind of battle is simply textbook level. However, at this moment, two powerful auras also burst out at the same time, howling again and again. Everyone hurriedly turned their heads and looked over. I saw Qing Chen walking through the crowd. He seemed to have thousands of hands, disappearing without a trace. The elders of the Xuanyi sect who touched him were instantly knocked away. On the other side, Wu Dade was like a big ox, charging directly. The elders of Xuanyi sect were knocked everywhere, and even the swords slashed on him were of no use. Both of them have also broken through to the third realm. Are these three monsters? Crazy, simply crazy, I said. Why were these three guys so calm before? I didn't expect that they had already planned to break through the situation with a fight. Too powerful, break through a big realm directly, a true genius. The expressions of everyone in Xianyizong changed drastically. Wu Song and others were also stunned. Master, they are so strong, so strong. Wu Song murmured and said. Invincible posture. Xian King Ai's beautiful eyes were also a little dazed. She hadn't seen them for a few days, but these people actually entered the second realm of chaos. At this moment, he is taking advantage of the battle to break through the situation. Moreover, she had a feeling that for these people, fighting to break the situation seemed to be just a very familiar thing. Do they often do this kind of thing? She felt that what she was feeling was ridiculous. Who else? At this moment, Wu Dade roared. His words were extremely arrogant. However, as soon as he finished speaking, a cold voice suddenly came from the sky. And me. Everyone looked up. Xian Tianqi stood above everyone's heads. In his hand, he held an ancient seal. That is the Xianyi sect's treasure, the Xianyi seal. The Xianyi seal was left by an ancestor in the history of the Xianyi section. That ancestor had reached the Wuzang realm. This Xianyi seal is the fifth realm magic weapon. Killing genius is not my intention. But unfortunately, you can only die. He directly inspired Xianyi Yin. He now feels afraid of Long Zixuan and others. You must not leave anything behind and directly use your biggest hole card. He believed that in the face of this trump card, these geniuses had no choice but to die. Xianyi seal, the power of the fifth level, is released. In the sky, the terrifying spiritual power turned into a huge condor. At this moment, everyone felt a great pressure, which made people feel heart palpitating and almost fell to their knees in surrender. The divine eagle swooped down towards Long Zixuan and the others. Hundreds of grasses fell to the ground, and huge numbers trembled. This divine eagle is equivalent to a strike from a powerful person in the 5 Tibet realm. No. Careful. Xian King Ai, Wu Song and others all lost their voices. However, Long Zixuan was extremely indifferent, and he slowly took out a bow embryo. Comparing trump cards. I didn't want to bully others, nay he. He had no choice but to slowly raise the bow embryo. I'll catch a flight to Shandong tomorrow morning. Well, I'll land in Yantai and prepare to see the sea. So continue to owe a chapter. I didn't want to owe more, but no. I had to slowly put down the keyboard. Good night. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 759. Xiantian stood in the sky, holding the Xuanyi divine seal, releasing terrifying spiritual power, turning into a huge eagle, and pounced towards Long Zixuan and others. Everyone was shocked. Facing such an attack, no one in the field might be able to take it. However, Long Zixuan was neither salty nor bland, and he raised the bow embryo in his hand. Then, he made a gesture of drawing a bow. The bow embryo has no strings, and the rough wood embryo stands in the air. However, At the moment when Long Xuanhuan drew the bow, there seemed to be some kind of power attached to the bow embryo, ready to go. The chaotic spiritual energy between heaven and earth suddenly surged towards the bow embryo, and the bow embryo was like a black hole of spiritual energy. The chaotic spiritual energy within a 10-mile radius suddenly disappeared. A huge amount of spiritual energy was compressed and condensed into an arrow in front of the bow embryo. Spiritual energy arrow. That arrow exuded an inexplicable aura of destroying heaven and earth. As soon as this inexplicable energy came out, everyone in the venue was frightened. It was as if a terrifying weapon had awakened, announcing the death of everyone. That feeling was like being swept by the god of death. As long as the god of death stopped for a moment, he would definitely die. What's going on? His bow embryo seems to be extraordinary. It's unbelievable, I actually feel an unbearable fear. Terrible. The embryo of the bow has no string, and it gathers the spiritual energy of heaven and earth into an arrow. It actually sucks up all the spiritual energy within a 10-mile radius. For a moment, everyone's expression changed and they stared at Long Xuanhuan. Above the sky, the terrifying eagle transformed from spiritual power has already arrived. Long Xuanhuan was sweating profusely at this moment. The bow clearly had no string, but when he pulled the string, he felt as if he was holding a bowstring with tens of millions of kilograms of elasticity in his hand. He could feel how terrifying the spiritual energy arrow on the bow embryo was. Every inch of spiritual energy is frantically stirring, but it cannot explode. After all, the arrow on the bow embryo at this moment was made by absorbing all the spiritual energy within a 10-mile radius. His spiritual power surged and poured into the bow embryo. Then, he suddenly loosened the string. The arrow formed from a massive amount of spiritual energy shot out suddenly. Like a shooting star streaking across the sky. Call out. The arrow shot through the air and passed directly through the terrifying spiritual eagle. The divine eagle that had been killed above Long Xuanhuan's head suddenly dissipated. Defeat the enemy with one arrow. Moreover, the arrow did not stop, its speed did not slow down at all, and it had already arrived in front of Xuantiankai. No. Xuantiankai turned pale in horror, his eyes filled with fear. How can it be? The treasure in his hand is a 5-level treasure. Who can defeat it? Now, it has been broken. He tried his best to raise the Xuanyi divine seal, trying to block the arrow with the Xuanyi divine seal. However, when the arrow hit, the black 5-realm divine seal exploded instantly. The spiritual energy arrow pierced through the chest, bringing with it a splash of blood. Xuantiankai fell down in response and fell from the sky. He hit the ground. And the arrow soared into the sky, leaving no trace behind. The whole place was silent for it. It took a long time for everyone to react. Master is invincible, invincible. Wu Song shouted excitedly. I just said that there will never be any mortal things in Senior Li's courtyard, but this is too strong. Wu Xiaoqan was a little distracted. Could this embryonic bow be a treasure from the 5th realm or above? Where did they come from? Xianqing I also murmured. Only now did she realize that the forces behind Qing Chen and others were definitely not simple. Mastering such a terrifying ancient method, and also holding a treasure of this level. I'm afraid, it's not comparable to Xian Yizong at all. Before, I actually tried to let them join Xian Yizong. Ridiculous. As for Xian Yizong, everyone was panicking at this moment. No. Impossible. The sect master is gone? The sect master has been defeated. My sect's most precious treasure actually exploded like this. What kind of evil thing is that bow? It's over, it's completely over. Terrified and frightened, they were retreating. At this moment, Long Xuanhuan slowly put away the bow embryo in his hand. He felt, his arms were sore, and his whole body felt tired. A battle with Xian Kaiyulan was not as expensive as just drawing the bow. His expression was a little complicated. No wonder the bow in the study said that he was too weak and would lose face with him. If it was really that bow, maybe I couldn't even pull it to a full stretch, right? Tisk, wouldn't it be nice to have a good fight? Why do you have to use extra moves? At this time, Wu Dade and Qing Chen also came over. Looking at Xian Tiankai, who was on the ground unaware of his life or death, Wu Dade shook his head. Me. At this moment, Xian Tiankai crawled out of the soil with difficulty, his mouth was full of grey blood, his whole body was trembling, and he felt that his bones were all broken and his muscles were all shattered. The impact of this arrow was unimaginably terrifying. My son will grow up, he will be invincible, and he will avenge me. Xian Tiankai spoke with difficulty, with a cruel smile in his eyes. Death, so what? He believed that his son would skyrocket. At that time, these people today will only die. But Qing Chen looked at him, shook his head and said, Donor, how come you are not completely dead? Hey, your obsession is too deep, which is not a good thing for you. The monk has saved you. He walked over, leaned down, and suddenly whispered. Come on, be good, do it yourself, pinch your own neck, don't let go. His words were like a kind of compassionate recitation, and they actually had a transcendent and free meaning, just like holy music. This is the debate Zen in his practice of 11 Zen. Debate Zen can influence the enemy's will, change the enemy's thinking, and even directly convert the opponent. At this moment, Xian Tiankai was seriously injured and his will was weak. When he heard King Chen's words, he was in a daze, and then he pinched his neck. He strangled himself to death. Seeing this scene, everyone in Xianyizong felt even more terrified. This is a demon monk, a demon monk. The dead man's desolation is so evil, everything happens, it's scary. I've said it before, you can't come, run away. At this moment, everyone in Xianyizong couldn't hold it any longer and ran away. The sect leader is gone, don't run away and wait for death. However, the dust is swept away with a broom in hand. The sand and stones danced wildly, and the spiritual power swept away. No. Help. I don't want to die. The black-scaled horse was torn apart and the cultivator's limbs were flying around. This was a massacre. There is nothing in the first place, so where is the dust? Qing Chen slowly put away the broom and said something. Wu Song and others looked at the scene with complicated expressions. The master was also, too fierce. And at this moment, secretly, run, run, run away. An old man was pissed and ran away. It was none other than the protector of the Mo family, Mo Fenjian. He has been secretly watching the battle, hoping to take advantage of the chaos and seize the ancient magic mastered by the Oath Keepers. However, after seeing the whole process, he was already frightened. This group of people is so cruel, far beyond imagination. Even if the Mo family comes, they may not be able to get benefits. All we can do is escape. At the same time, behind Xianyizong, in the carriage, He Luo and others were also shocked. Actually, so cruel. Wu Qi broke into a cold sweat. Fortunately, Lord He Luo didn't listen to him, otherwise I'm afraid, it would be over at this moment. Beside him, Mr. He Luo's eyes were even duller, and he murmured. A bow without strings, using air as arrows, the shot will definitely hit. This is one of the top 10 artifacts in the Guardian organization. Chaos Sun Bow. He was shocked. According to legend, the Chaos Sun shooting bow is a treasure left over from the pre-White Mist era. Although it was severely damaged, with only the embryonic part remaining, its power is still undiminished. There is an embryo but no string, and the air is used as an arrow, and the shot will definitely hit. This is the legend and characteristics of the Chaos Sun Bow. The bow of the eye is all on point, and there is no mistake. It is one of the top 10 artifacts of the Guardian, and it can be called the most precious treasure of the guardian. Even in the true ancestor realm, the number of times it has been used can be counted on one hand. Every time he appears, a big shot will shed blood and leave a bloody legend. Now, he actually came to Xuanhuan realm. Could it be, could the guardian really be aware of the visitor's actions this time? Even the Chaos Sunbow is here. Are the guardians trying to hunt down the big shot of their visitor? Not good. This kind of thing actually happened. I have to leave quickly and go back to report the news. He panicked, turned around hurriedly, and said, Ao Wushuan, Wu Qi, let's run away. However, when he turned around, he saw that Wu Qi was the only one left in the carriage. Where's Ao Wushuan? He asked. Wu Qi was also a little confused, and he didn't pay attention at all. Why is Ao Wushuan missing? There. Suddenly, he pointed behind him. Only a black spot was seen, moving away from the battlefield at an unimaginable speed, almost out of their sight. Why is this guy so fast? He Luo was shocked. Isn't this Ao Wushuan, too stubborn? Damn it, don't call yourself too. Let's go. As soon as he mentioned Wu Qi, he quietly fled away. In Qingdao, I just ate an oyster 38, which made me feel so sad. It is more expensive than Shanghai. I have to continue coding and earn back my oyster money. I have to work hard. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 760. In front of the Oath-Keeping Valley. It was a mess, with bodies lying everywhere. The entire Xianyi sect, everyone who participated in this battle, has been destroyed. Master, they are too powerful. We, the Oath Keepers, did not follow the wrong person. The Master will surely soar into the sky. The Oath Keepers were all very happy. Master is awesome. Wu Song also stepped forward to salute. However, Qing Chen smiled and said, It's just a trivial matter. By the way, you used the Xuanhuan to accompany the Gymnastics Avenue, it looks very good. Qing Chen finds it quite interesting. He likes to save people, while the Oath Keepers like to send people on their way with Xuanhuan. Tisk tisk, you are indeed the one who follows you, even the way of killing people is so good. When Wu Song heard this, he was even more happy. The Master actually agreed. Master, don't worry, we will continue to carry it forward in the future. He spoke quickly. Qing Chen turned his head, looked at Long Zixuan and others, and said, Where to go next? But the big black dog looked at Long Zixuan and said, When they were fighting just now, didn't you think that the martial arts they used were very familiar? The dog's eyes were very solemn. Long Zixuan nodded and said, It's like I know those laws without looking at them. This is also the reason why he fights extremely easily. Although Xian Kaiyulan and others were at a high level, all the techniques they used, Long Zixuan felt that they were naturally familiar. The Wuhuang realm, I'm afraid it probably has something to do with you, maybe in this world, some secrets of the war that year can be revealed. The big black dog spoke in a low voice and said, There were a few shrimps in the dark just now. One of them seemed to have the aura of the grey fog world. It was deep in thought, just now, it sensed He Luo. The other party, can't hide from it at all. Moreover, the big black dog is so keen that it senses that the root method practiced by He Luo does not belong to the ancestral world, and it should not be the system of the 9 methods. But, it originates from outside the ancestral realm. It seems that although she, who is known as the end of 10,000 paths, has ushered in the post-White Mist era, there are still turbulent undercurrents in the post-White Mist era. In the Grey Mist world, in the ancestral world, there are still nails. However, a small shrimp is not worth much, so the big black dog is too lazy to take action. After all, play the long game and catch the big fish. The so-called martial arts gold list, you still have to take a look. The big black dog then spoke. Qing Chen also nodded, immediately looked at Wu Xiaoqan and said, "Where is the martial arts gold list exactly?" Wu Xiaoqan scratched his head and said, "I don't know either. For details, I have to ask the girl in Xingyi." As an oath keeper, Wu Xiaoqan has never been out of danger in his life. Xianqing Ai had already stood up and said, "I'll take you there." Her beautiful eyes were very determined, and now, she was becoming more and more curious about these people. "However, I have a merciless request." She looked at Qing Chen. Qing Chen smiled and said, "Girl, please tell me." Xianqing Ai said, "Please allow me and my master to join the tomb keepers. She is very smart. After this battle, she has determined that in the entire Baichuan continent, the most powerful person is probably the existence behind Qing Chen and others. Now that the Xianyi sect has been destroyed, and seeing the rise of the Oath Keepers with her own eyes, she really doesn't want to lose this opportunity. I want to respect you as my master." She saluted Qing Chen. At this moment, there was also a drop of cold sweat on the tip of her nose. She's gambling. In fact, she was not sure at all. After all, Qing Chen and others were too strong, so what qualifications did she have to ask them? In the eyes of the other party, Xian Yizong is just an ant, and he is probably not even as good as a blade of grass on the roadside. Of course, she had no choice. Qing Chen pondered for a moment. Xianqing Ai's actions before and after showed that this woman is smart and has her own bottom line and principles. Being able to bravely stand on the opposite side of the master's sect, and even come to the Oath Keepers to report the news when being chased. Enough. With her here, she might be able to help the Oath Keepers develop faster. "Okay, I can promise you." Hearing this, Xianqing Ai was immediately surprised and overjoyed. She didn't expect, the other party actually agreed. "Thank you, Master." She opened her mouth and said, "Master, please come with me." She immediately led the way. "By the way, Xiaoqan, you might as well come with us and see the outside world." Qing Chen then spoke. "Wu Xiaoqan will definitely be in charge of the Oath Keepers in the future. But now, he is still too immature. Needs experience." Hearing this, Wu Xiaoqan nodded heavily and said, "Follow your orders." Immediately, they set off again, heading in the direction of the Northland dynasty. After a while, the group of people had left the dead man's wasteland. The Balan dynasty is in the center of Baichuanzhou and commands a territory of millions of miles. It is very far away from here. Even if you ride a black scale horse, it will take a year to reach the territory of the Balan dynasty. And this time the martial arts gold list is said to have appeared in an ancient battlefield in the Tianai province in the southern part of the northern dynasty. Xianqing Ai introduced the situation of the outside world. Hearing this, Long Zixuan, Qing Chen and others were a little surprised. The martial wilderness realm is just one of the 4 realms and 8 wildernesses, but it is actually so vast. It's a pity that the chaos Dao in the ancestral world is suppressed too much. Long Zixuan couldn't help but speak. When they were in the underworld and the Yang world, they had perfected the divine way and could go anywhere in the world with a single thought. But not in the chaos ancestral realm. Chaos Dao's suppression of Shinto cultivators is too strong. Only by entering the realm of chaos can one continuously master the principles of chaos and conquer this world. Without mastering the principles of chaos, you will naturally be unable to use space and fly. 1 year? If this passes, the daylilies will be cold. Wu Date also spoke. So, we have to go to Baihuang City first and rush through the teleportation array. In this way, we can get there in about half a month. Xian King I continued. Baihuang City is not far ahead. However, the big black dog shook his head and said, "No need to go. Isn't it just a teleportation array? Look at me." As it spoke, it waved its big paw, and pieces of chaos spiritual stones suddenly appeared in the field. The chaos spiritual stone contains a very rich source of chaos chi. Practitioners can use it to practice and get twice the result with half the effort. At the same time, chaos spiritual stones can also be called the currency of the chaos ancestral realm. These chaos spirit stones were randomly picked up by the big black dog from the corpses of everyone in the Xianyi sect before leaving. In fact, the chaos spiritual stone is, of no use to the people in the small mountain village. Compared to the chaos spiritual energy in the village, no matter how advanced the chaos spiritual stone from the outside world is, it can only be regarded as impurities. The big black dog struck 3 times and set up a formation. Teleportation array. You are too strong. Xian King I was stunned. This big black dog is actually a formation master. How terrible. It should be noted that the teleportation array requires proficiency in the principles of space and formation techniques. There are only a handful of people in Baichuanzhou who can set up a teleportation array. This senior dog, his cultivation is too deep. Damn dog, you can still do this. Wu Dade was also very curious. No, I just learned it from the old turtle. During this period of time, the big black dog often communicated with Zhang Li's turtle. The old turtle was also proficient in various formations. However, as soon as he opened his mouth, the big black dog felt that he had spilled the beans and quickly changed his words. The locals have been studying the formation for hundreds of millions of years and have already perfected it. Don't worry. It didn't give Wu Dade and others a chance to continue asking questions. It looked at Xian King I and said, "Tell me, where are the coordinates of that place?" Xian King I was about to approach the imperial court in the north, and the coordinates of Tianai province were revealed. "Watch it, I will show you what a formation master is." The big black dog spoke, and instantly, the teleportation array glowed. Everyone in the field disappeared from where they were. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 761. Now. A vast land with continuous cities. In the center of the northern border, there is a huge capital city. The imperial capital of Balan dynasty, Balan City. Today's Balancheng is extremely lively. Ever since the news that the martial arts gold list appeared in the Balan dynasty came out, the world was shocked. Almost all the forces in the north came towards the Balan dynasty. Balancheng has become a gathering place for all major forces. There is an endless stream of talented people, especially among the younger generation. Even the forces from the 6 realms came. The God of War Academy in Nanzan continent, a force in the 6 realms, is known to have countless young geniuses. The Tailing sect in Dongling continent has a mysterious inheritance. It is said that there are followers in the true ancestor realm, and the Holy Sun has arrived in person. The Beast Spirit Mountain in Zhishanzhou is the most powerful ancient magic cultivation holy place in the north. Every genius who comes out has outstanding qualifications. There are countless other forces in the 5 realms and 4 realms, such as the Mo family in the far north. And at this moment, the proud sons of various major families and forces gathered in front of a mountain peak. That mountain peak stands in the most prosperous area of the imperial capital in the north. It occupies a vast area, but no one dares to mess with it. Just because there is a pavilion on the top of the mountain. Martial Arts Pavilion. The Martial Arts Pavilion on Martial Arts Peak is famous throughout the northern border. It is said that this force was created by a group of extremely terrifying old immortals who had no desires and devoted themselves to martial arts. And every 100 years, When the martial arts gold list appears, the martial arts pavilion will appear and recruit 3 disciples. Anyone who can be accepted as a disciple by the martial arts pavilion, in history, most of them have successfully obtained the inheritance of the martial arts golden list. It can be said that, becoming a disciple of the martial arts pavilion is equivalent to becoming a quasi-gold list player. Therefore, today, countless geniuses are going to compete here. It is said that the martial arts pavilion only has 2 places this year. It seems that in the far north, an extremely powerful and proud woman appeared. Her surname seems to be Mo Mingzhu. That woman is so stunning, her martial arts talent is incredible, and she is a practitioner of ancient magic. The crowd was buzzing. The God of War Academy is here. A voice came, and a group of young men and women came in a jade car. Did you see the young master holding a folding fan? He is the most powerful person in the God of War Academy, Nanggong Ao. This person is determined to win the spot as a disciple of the martial arts pavilion. Everyone was talking about it. The tailing sect of Dongling Zhou has arrived. Another voice sounded. Buledin Tailing, the holy son of the tailing sect, have you seen it? He is born with spiritual patterns on his forehead. It is said that any martial skill in his hands will be much more powerful out of thin air. Someone whispered. The beast spirit prince of Zishan's beast spirit mountain is here, look at his wolf. At the same time, someone exclaimed, pointing in a certain direction. Over there, a man wearing animal armor came riding a black wolf as tall as a horse. He was wild and shocking. At the same time, on a tall building in the distance, 2 beauties were sitting beside the bed, talking and laughing while looking towards martial arts peak. Sister Mingzhu, you are the first disciple of the martial arts pavilion. From what you see, who can stand out this time? Nanggong Ao? Prince of Beast Spirits? Or Buledin Tailing? One of the girls in the palace skirt asked with a smile. She is the eldest princess of the northern dynasty, Xuanhuan. Opposite her, was the number 1 person in the martial arts pavilion who was famous in the Balin dynasty, Mo Mingzhu. At this moment, Mo Mingzhu had a pale face, was wearing a white military uniform, and had an excellent figure. However, her beautiful eyes fell on an inconspicuous young man in the crowd. No, I choose him. She pointed at the young man. Oh? Who is he? Xuanhuan couldn't help but ask. Xian Yiming. Mo Mingzhu's beautiful eyes were filled with deep appreciation as she said. He is one body of ice and fire. He will definitely soar into the sky this time. Xuanhuan's beautiful eyes lit up, she rolled her eyes slightly, but smiled. Sister Mingzhu, is this Xian Yiming the one you like? I heard, you are engaged, haha. She joked intentionally or unintentionally. Mo Mingzhu shook her head and said. It was just a joke. My sister has gone to break off that ridiculous engagement. Hearing this, Xuanhuan couldn't help but nodded and said. That's fine. Indeed, women like you and me should have a higher gaze. Those ordinary people can at most be regarded as scenery on the roadside. A glance at them is a gift to their lives. Mo Mingzhu said without comment. My other half, must be strong enough. She is very confident. Quiet. While many geniuses were talking about it, a loud shout suddenly came from the martial arts peak. Whoever can stand on the martial arts stage, welcome the siege of the whole crowd, and persist until sunset, can become a disciple of our pavilion. Under the martial arts peak, the earth cracked open, and a black arena with a radius of several kilometers slowly emerged. Martial arts stage. When they heard the words coming from martial arts peak, everyone's expressions changed drastically. One person, standing on the stage, facing everyone's siege. What a perverted request. Who can do it? Those who dare to participate in this competition are all geniuses. The gap between people will not be too big. Maybe there is a true genius who can fight 1 against 10, or 1 against 100. But, there are thousands of geniuses on site. Now, noon has not yet arrived. Last until sunset? Simply impossible. It's so perverted, it's just impossible. No wonder, being able to enter the martial arts pavilion is equivalent to being a quasi-seed figure on the gold list. To enter the martial arts pavilion, you must first be invincible. Difficult. Everyone is emotional. No one dares to go up. Even a group of young people from the God of War Academy in Nanzan Continent, the Holy Son of Tailing Sect in Dongling Continent, the Beast Spirit Prince from Zishan Continent, and others all had uncertain expressions at this moment. This is too embarrassing. In the God of War Academy, a young man in Confucian robes shook his head. He was the strongest person in the God of War Academy, Nangong Ao. 1 against all. Buledin Tailing, the Holy Son of Tailing Sect, frowned. Don't talk about holding on until sunset, looking at the world, who can stop the attack of everyone in the audience for a quarter of an hour. It's just a dream. The Prince of Beast Spirits, riding a tall black wolf, is very wild, but not reckless. Everyone is hesitating. In a restaurant in the distance. Martial Arts Pavilion, is really strict. Tuabalai Ugjiu couldn't help but sigh and said. I think no one dares to come forward. Mo Mingzu stared at the back of a certain young man in the crowd. Xian Yiming. You won't let me down, right? Mo Mingzu whispered. Among the crowd, Xian Yiming was, feeling a little stiff at this moment. He is surprisingly the son of the leader of Xian Yizong, Xian Yiming. One person and everything? Even though he was a creature of ice and fire, he was still a little frightened at this moment. It's a pity that my father hasn't obtained the ancient method in the Dead Man's Desert yet, otherwise, if I practice it, I might really be able to shine. He was a little worried. If he fought like this, he might die. Never mind. He couldn't help but speak towards the mountain peak and said. Seniors, can you lower your requirements? With 1 against all, no one dares to try. His words were echoed by many people. But in the restaurant behind, Mo Mingzu's beautiful eyes were startled for a moment, and then a look of disappointment flashed across her eyes. He was wise to do so. Next to her, Tuabalai Ugjiu seemed to notice her disappointment and said. Wiseness is also a kind of martial arts, isn't it? Mo Mingzu nodded, but after all, there was a hint of disappointment in her eyes. In the front field. Everyone echoed Xian Yiming's words and asked the martial arts pavilion to lower the difficulty. If you want to enter the martial arts pavilion, this is a must-pass level. However, the voice on the martial arts peak did not waver at all, only true martial arts wizards, who can be worth everything with one person, can enter the pavilion. Hearing this, everyone was a little angry. This is so embarrassing, no one even dares to try. Xian Yiming couldn't help but speak. But, he just finished speaking. Suddenly, the space above the martial arts platform was suddenly torn apart. Among them, a group of people staggered out and landed on the black martial arts stage. Those were several young men and women, and a big black dog. Suddenly, everyone in the audience was surprised. They are all staring at this group of people. At this moment, Qing Chen and others had just fallen out of the space and were still a little confused. Is this Tianai province? Why are there so many people? Qing Chen was a little confused. Why, are you all looking at us? Long Zixuan was confused. As for Xian Qing'ai, she didn't know what she thought of. She turned around and glanced at the mountain peak behind her. Her pretty face suddenly changed and she said. No. This is not Tianai province at all. This is Balan city, the imperial capital of Balan dynasty. We ran to the foot of martial arts peak. Hearing this, everyone was stunned for a moment. To the north is the imperial capital? Marshall Peak. Damn dog, you damn bitch, can you be more reliable? Wu Dade was speechless. As for the big black dog, his face was a little confused and he said, "Wow, can you blame me for this? This emperor brings you here, of course he has deep meaning." The big black dog quibbled and murmured, "That's not right. Although I have never learned formations before, according to what the old turtle said, I shouldn't be so wrong. It's a bit confusing." When Wu Dade and others heard this, they were speechless. "I co-authored this damn dog and used them as guinea pigs. It's simply too much." "Very good. You dare to stand on the martial arts arena and face the attack of the entire Northern Genius. You are very brave." At this moment, on the martial arts peak, a voice came, saying, "However, you can only keep one person. This is the rule." After hearing this, Wu Dade and others were immediately stunned. What the hell? Leave one person behind? Accept everyone's attacks? Damn dog, you led us into a trap. Wu Dade was speechless. "Looking for death, which one of you will stay? We'll kill him. Haha, you actually dare to challenge all geniuses. Crazy man." At this moment, the roars of many geniuses in the audience could be heard. They were all angry. Just when they didn't dare to go on stage and ask for the difficulty to be lowered, someone actually rushed forward. "Isn't this a slap in the face to everyone? We must teach how to be a good person." On the stage, Qing Chen and others also felt helpless. This is being tricked into the ring. "Forget it, these people are too weak, I'm not interested." Long Xuanhuan glanced at the whole audience, but just said something lightly, and then left. Wu Dade also said, "These people have weak kidneys at first sight. A hit on Fatty would be worse than a mosquito bite. Fatty doesn't want to waste time, so he leaves." He also went down. Qing Chen also thought for a moment, then he suddenly patted Wu Xiaoqan on the shoulder and said, "Xiao Kun, if I take action, it will be overturned, it's not appropriate. I'll leave it to you to practice." With that said, he also left. Xianqing I also glanced at Wu Xiaoqan with a complicated expression, and followed Qing Chen out of the ring. Wu Xiaoqan stayed on the ring, looking confused. "Who am I and where am I? Good night."